Hi, let's have a look at your messages for today. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions. It means a lot to me. Let's have a look at what Spirit wants to say here. Let's see the messages from Enlightened Realms. Spirit, please protect this reading. Yeah. Okay, so I was about to say a new dawn is here, but we have coherence and Merkaba. So there's and then we have consciousness. So we have there's an ebb and a flow energy here. The natural progression of things. This is about the natural progression of things. The frequency of allowance invites us to be open to whatever comes our way, without judgment, without opinion, without fear, and without resistance. When we allow, the universe becomes our partner in the wondrous dance of existence and expansion. Yeah, this is an ebb and a flow energy that I'm picking up on. Okay, now this is essentially 3D and 5D energy that I'm picking up on, and then the dance of 4D. So the energies between 3D and 5D. The synergy to that. The 17th of September could be significant. The 13th of September could be significant. The number 4132, you could be 41, you could be 32, or have that around you, maybe house number, phone number. Okay, there's an allowance here that needs to take place. There's a natural energy that's being born here that there is a resistance to on a multi-dimensional level here is how I want to say it. And that's because of so basically anything anger, fear, confusion is kind of causing people to become unstuck in what is, and it's like we just have to allow this to flow is how I want to say it. Part of this is a lack of belief as well. Part of this is down to a lack of belief. November's going to be really important in this situation. It's like that is being birthed fully in November, and people can't quite believe that is happening. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of regenerational energy that's being pushed down because people don't know what it is. And they think it's harmful or it's going to cause a problem, but it's not meant to. This is this is a shift of everything. This is a consciousness shift that we're coming into. This is a new earth. This is that energy of rebirth, but it's not just on one level or within one person. This is within a collective energy. And that's from a stripping of old belief systems. That's from a removal of everything that is not meant to have to be, or this is the shadow. So your subconscious is bringing up a lot. Probably people are going through confusion, worry, concern, anxiety, stress, and it's meant to be in that. You're meant to be in that energy, because if you weren't in that energy, you wouldn't understand there was an issue. So there's too many people that think life has to just be easy. Because how are we meant to understand what life is if we don't understand the balance to that? If we just have everything our own way, how can we understand what this is? Why are we here then, you know? This is about, in my opinion, a soul's journey, about us as a collective energy. We're all fragments of one consciousness, and we all have different experiences. But if we're all in the energy of worry, fear, you know, there's a reason for that. It's because we're having one. It's like any kind of childbirth as well. You know, if there's childbirth, obviously there is a process to that, okay? And usually there is one momentum of energy that is kind of propelled forward in order for that to kind of really breakthrough energy is kind of how I want to say it. We're at a breakthrough energy here. We are in a breakthrough energy. So if you're having fear, guilt, concern, worry, anxiety, anger, stress, a collapse of your reality, fear, then you need to kind of understand that there has to be a conscious awareness of this in order for it to be fixed. If there wasn't a fixing of that, or there wasn't if that energy didn't come up, then we wouldn't be conscious enough to fix it and move through it. It has to be, felt to be healed, right? So there's a reason that this is being brought up, especially if in your immediate reality there's a lot of shadows or a lot of things that are coming up that you didn't expect to see. There's a reason. There is a reason for that. It's to bring awareness to your attention. It's to show you things that you hadn't already understood, so you can clear that element out. And it's like we're talking layers here of awareness that is being cleared. And it needs to happen. The frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and talents and a strong connection to source. So if we have these blocks still, we are not as connected to the self and or upstairs. And so in order for us to have a deeper connection to our lives, sometimes we have to be, we have to be shown our blocks. And if we're not shown our blocks, how are we meant to fix them? People are wandering through this reality thinking that, this shouldn't be happening to me, that shouldn't be happening to me. There's a correction of your consciousness here that everyone is going through. And you need to be patient with yourself and understand that if there is a block, if there is something that isn't quite working in your, it's because there is a block that needs to be understood and revealed and released. And take it as lucky that if you're not being revealed what the block is, it means maybe you're meant to be in that energy a little bit longer because there's other things that you're missing. But I see it more as that this is an opportunity for people to really become more in touch with themselves. And this is Spirit giving us a gift, because it's like as we go up to the 30th of October, the veil does thin. And what that means is the veil between our spirit, the spirit world and the reality we're in does get thinner and thinner. We are going to start seeing a lot more supernatural things. And because of the timeline that we're in right now, it's going to be very important what we're acknowledging. There is a direct reflection of within us as to what is happening in our environment. So as above, so below. Our internal dialogue, our internal world is a reflection of our external, okay? And it's really important. So, and you might say, oh my goodness, Charlotte, that's terrible. Your dad's just died. How could you say that? There's a death within me as well. There's a reflection of that everywhere we're going, and it's meant as a pathway for deeper understanding. It's not meant as a kind of, because how you react to this is going to be the important part. The reactions to these things is the lesson, is the key. Because if you then just start to react to these kind of scenarios that are being presented to you, either out of confusion or doubt or fear, you are just going to be kind of kept in a holding pattern, because what you're being reflected there is more confusion, which means go within. That we're not in a retrograde with 5 or 6 planets for no reason. We're about to come out of Mercury's shadow period in retrograde. Okay? By the time you see this, we would have already come out of it. Okay? We've already come out of Pluto in retrograde. We've got quite a few other planets. Mars is about to go into retrograde at the end of the month. So that's going to add another. So this is the kind of time where we have to be understanding very deeper levels. That in itself is going to help us unlock a lot more. And sometimes we're held back because it's like you got to go 2 steps back to go 5 steps forward sometimes, because it's like, the spiral analogy where it's like we have to go backwards sometimes to understand a deeper level or a deeper understanding of the self. This is what's happening right now from where I'm looking. Let's see what else Spirit want me to add. They're saying no cards at the moment. You're all going to be going through your own individual lessons, okay? And how you choose to respond to those things are going to be important. because until the lesson is learned, it's like there is an unlocking of a soul here, that on every level there's an awakening, there's a mass awakening going on, and the level of which you are unlocking is a testimony to how aware you are of this kind of pattern of what we're going through as a collective, right? And the more in touch you are with the self and how to understand that, the easier this is going to be to navigate. It's not up to other people, because what's going to be happening is people are going to reflect that back to you. So arguments, disagreements are going to be a reflection of that example. And it's up to you to identify what about that you're going to need to understand. And it's going to be really important moving forward. Like I said, we've got a lot of portals that are coming into play here. It almost feels like we're in this timeline loop a little bit until that is completed, is how I want to say it, which will be coming up over the next couple of months. Okay, let me just tap into this energy here, because it's not... It's like you're going to be held a very harsh reflection of the self up to you, or you're going to see you may already be seeing it, very harsh reflections of the self. They are not to be used for, like, to insult. This is not meant to insult people. This is meant to be used, or how it's being reflected to you is meant to be used as a way of understanding parts of yourself that haven't been acknowledged. Because when you're understanding parts of yourself that haven't been acknowledged, you're unlocking more of yourself. And by unlocking more of you, you are able to move into a different energy. This is about a birthing. It's like this is the key to birthing in this new chapter for everybody, basically. Yeah. This is about birthing a new chapter. And so look at if you want to actually really understand this, look at the way people are responding to you. And then understand what it is that you need to understand about that aspect. So, for example, if you're getting a lot of disdain from people, what is it about that is being reflected to you? And what is it? Because this is the thing. It's like everyone's going to be different here. And without going into personal, individual lessons, it's like I can't give too many examples. But let's say, for example, you're forever getting bad feedback. It's like, don't associate yourself with the feedback. It's like, don't understand the part of that you will need to like kind of learn from, but don't take it so heavily on board that it becomes a part of you, because there's a balance to this. It's like we're in this tipping point energy here where how much of it is other people's wounds and how much of it is your wound. That's the kind of way I want to say it, okay? So there's a balance to this. And obviously, because we're in Libra season here, this is what essentially they're saying is, this is about understanding the balance of wounds of the shadow in order for us to clarify this before we go into Scorpio season, which will be around the 23rd, 22nd of this month. It's going to be really important. What are your wounds and what are not your wounds? That's one thing they want to say. I'm saying they're also saying as well, people are holding on to old identities and old characteristics of the self that they don't realise has been already let go. But people need to understand and let go of it. It's like people are living in an old timeline or an old space without realising that their identity is no longer their identity. It's like people are holding on to an old identity out of fear. It's like people will sit and go, okay, well, I'm bored, or I don't resonate with doing this anymore, or this doesn't give me joy anymore, and it doesn't feel like how it used to feel. It's because you're expanding and your soul is not recognizing that as something that brings it joy. This is a collective dark night of the soul that we're basically coming out of. This this C word situation that I can't say on YouTube, was a collective dark night of the soul. And if you don't know what a dark night of the soul is, have a look into it, Google it, do some research on it. But it's like we're coming out of a tail end of that right now. And like anything, there is obviously Scorpio season is death and rebirth. It's Phoenix energy. So with every death, there is a rebirth. Yeah, so we have to acknowledge that the rebirth is within the collective and it's here. It's to be understood. Like there is still going to be that energy of within the kind of, the awareness, the reality we're in. It's going to be very obvious that it's not quite harmonious just yet because we're still in harvest season, right? We're in autumn. Okay, so between now and the next few weeks, it's still that harvesting energy. So just be aware that you're still able to manifest and move through this. But we are, as we prepare to come into the new moon, we are establishing new timelines that are going to be really important to be aware and conscious of. Okay, what else? I feel like I need to talk more about this. Let me just listen to what these guys are saying. Let it all go. And I get it. It's like if you're in Europe and you're watching this, you guys are going to resonate with this kind of example. But there's a lot of, in fact, I think it's everywhere. There's a lot of heightened sense of holding on to things like money, monetary gain, the physical. Let's all hold on to everything. This is going to give us a security comfort blanket. Let's hold on to it. If we hold on, we're all going to be okay. But it's a false narrative. It's like there's a false kind of sense of self that's being held on to. And I get it. We have to be realistic with bills, and there is a practical element that has to be balanced as well. I totally understand that. But for the energy that I'm channeling here, the guides are saying, release it. Just let it go. There's some emotional energy that's being held on to here between now and the next week. Focus on releasing that, because it's like an old emotional caricature of the self is being held on to because people don't understand a different way of doing it. You need to let it go because it's not serving you. In fact, it's actually holding on to old wounds. Some people are holding on to old wounds and expecting that to serve them, and that's not the case. How you can do that is go to a body of water, the ocean, a lake, somewhere that resonates with you that has water, and just sit and contemplate what you're releasing and just visualize it. Hand it to spirit. Hand it to spirit. Someone didn't want me to say that. Hand it to spirit, or hand it to, visualize it being sent to your guides so that they can process it. And if, let's say, for example, there are things that you haven't quite processed, ask them to show you what it is you need to acknowledge before handing that energy over. Okay? Hand all this over. Release it. Okay, let me just tap into upstairs. I'm just debating how to, let me just listen to them a little bit more. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. The first thing that comes into your head that you have to release it. And if you don't know how to do that, just ask spirit and say, this, this wound or this situation, I hand it upstairs, because there's too many people trying to almost work out how to do things from a physical level, but it's not serving them. It's like they're trying to maintain control and it's not serving them. Yeah. There's a lot of inner child fear here that's coming up as well. It's like there's a collective energy of or a timeline from childhood that's also being merged and cleared out, is how I want to say it. And this is why it's like there's this kind of parallel energy running to where we're at right now, where there's people think as well that by releasing it, their identity would be at risk. And that's not the case. And I'm going to finish this on a separate video if there's any other information that needs to come through. But I think these guys are happy. But I don't want to run too long on this message. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions. Until next time, take care.